Arvadans For Progressive Action. My name is Julie Callahan, and we are recording. Today's meeting is going to be about the war in Ukraine. We're going to be watching a film and discussing it. It is a very sensitive subject, so we would ask everyone to take a deep breath and understand we may have differing opinions, but we are not enemies. Okay? I would like to welcome all new members. We are a grassroots group that organized after the 2016 election, and we are looking to vote for people and elect people who share our values. That is the nutshell of APA. If anyone is new and would like to introduce themselves, feel free.
Hi, this is my first meeting in person, but I have engaged with you all before with Bruce on the anti-war group. We were trying to get some answers from our representatives last summer, but my name is Shauna Ambrose, and I'm running for City Council District 2.
Welcome, Shauna.
So I definitely represent your progressive values. I have the questionnaire Joyce sent me to fill out, so to make it all official, but yeah. I was here before I ran, so.
Thank you. Do we have any other elected positions or candidates? Or new members? Or new members?
Go ahead.
My name is Rose Foster. I'm just here to learn more about the war.
Thank you, Rose. Welcome. Grant, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Grant Walker. Totally progressive. I did race here and what did you do actually?
I am standing up here because Robin, who normally does this, she has been an extremely active member from the beginning, is stepping away from all the responsibility. I don't know that I could ever fill her shoes on a good day, but if anybody would like to become more active to help do something she does, just let us know. Hi, are you new?
Yeah.
Oh, Julie. So anyway,
Stand up.
so I introduce yourself.
Not the only.
This would be a really interesting thing.
Well, thank you. Anyway, Robin is still going to be a member. She's just not going to be so active. So the next time you see her, thank her for all her hard work. Let's talk about what's going on in the world right now that gives you pause, causes you issues, keeps you awake at night. The House members on the Republican side who are having hearings about pretty much nonsense. They keep bringing in people to go after Hunter Biden, and all of their witnesses seem to fall apart. So although I'm kind of pleased with the outcome, I think the people who don't pay attention to the news are probably just getting very selective sound bites and not getting the whole story, and that keeps me up. Yes.
Well, I don't do a lot of financial donations to campaigns, but I do what I can. And I gave a donation to the banned bookmobile that is going around to Ron DeSantis's campaign stops. They apparently, from what I read on, I think it was Move On and it said that they had, because they give these books away as a lending bookmobile, it's a giving away bookmobile, and they had run out of all books. And so obviously people want these, and so I contributed some financial assistance, so that I'm a retired librarian, so I celebrate Banned Books Week every year by reading a banned book, so right down my wheelhouse. A banned book.
Can you share the donation site so the rest of us can get involved in that if we'd like to?
Oh, it was either Move On or what's the other one? I don't think it was Indivisible. I think it might have been Move On. So I'll research that and put it up on our website.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yes.
Well, what gives me hope, I just finished reading a book called Gangbusters, and it's about this Denver district attorney back in the early 1920s, Philip Van Spaceman, and how he was a Denver district. He took on both corrupt gang members and the Ku Klux Klan. Very active in Denver, and Golden and other areas around in the 1920s, and just reading those descriptions of their rallies, it's just like perfect. I mean, people were insane, screaming, "You're not Americans!" Sounds so familiar to what we're facing today. The fact that the justice system and a few good people and a lot of grassroots people are able to fight it gives me hope. Somehow we're going to get through this. Right?
For the libraries, I saw kind of an uplifting story, mixed emotions, uplifting story, but there was a library in California that had a small Pride books display from the month of June out, and there were a few local residents who did not agree with it, and they checked out all the books and then sent a letter to the library saying they were going to refuse to return the books until they removed them from their libraries. And the community rallied around the library. They donated all of those books back, plus $15,000 that was then matched by the community. So the library got like $30,000 out of it, and a bunch of brand new books, a bunch of banned books. And so, your community can rally around things like libraries and books, and we can make a difference in our community.
And I do need to say the indictments.
Oh, smile on my face.
Sharon just came in. If you would like to stand up and introduce yourself.
Well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Sharon Davis. I am running art, and I'm delighted to be here and to hear all of the stories. I think it's very exciting. A strong community will be we need to build a strong community, so we don't have people coming in and tearing us down. We need to sit at the table. So please go to my website and share with her. Share with her. Some feedback for me to help. Some things love to do that. I want to get in front of the community. So please do say that I don't want to do and I would really value this. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Well, I have something to add here. That the people on Zoom are saying that they're having a really hard time hearing us. So you got to step up to the mic here. Stand next to the owl to talk. The other thing I was going to say that gives me hope is that this November, we're going to have an election that's going to decide the future of our city council. We have 4 out of 7 seats that are open. And what gives me hope is that we have 4 excellent candidates who are running, and that we can certainly make sure that Arvada is a place that is going to continue moving forward.
That's a great, thank you. Yeah. Can you hear me now, Harriet? Is this better?
I can hear people who are at the front if they're facing the microphone. If people
Okay.
face the audience or in the back, then I can't hear.
Okay,
But now you're cutting your head off, so.
Okay, well, how's this? Okay, there we
I
go.
can hear you fine, Julie.
Okay, very good. Okay, at this point, I want to pass around a basket for donations. We need donations in order to pay for things like Zoom and this area and other incidentals. Thank you. While we do that, I want to introduce the leaders of the different action teams and have them give a brief report. The first one is Allison Phipps, our communications leader.
Okay. What do we got? Updates for communications are Bob McGrath has sent around some surveys to some leaders in our community or in our group and some of the members that have been members for a long time. And so we're going to start posting those on our website and on Facebook, just in hopes of everybody to just kind of like get to know each other a little bit better. So Jim, you'll be first. Yours is done first. And so just look out for those. It'll just be like kind of like a little bio, some of your likes and dislikes, maybe not dislikes, just likes, and things that people can connect with. So, once you see Jim's profile, then you can reach out to him and be like, that's my favorite park too. So look for those. And I'm always kind of looking for somebody that might want to help with social media, like events. So if you want to help post on social media and create events, I'll take you. And then I'll move on to education. Sure. Education team lead as well. The biggest update with that is that we do have a date for the school board candidates forum. That will be September 26th at, I don't know if we have a time exactly yet, but it'll be like 6 or 7 in the evening at the Unitarian Church in Golden.
Jefferson Unitarian.
Jefferson Unitarian Church. Yeah, I'm like, I've never been there, but the Jefferson Unitarian Church in Golden. It'll also be available by Zoom, so you do not have to go to the Unitarian Church, but the church will be open for everybody to come. I think all the candidates will be there. I mean, we're still kind of working on like RSVPs. It's not just me. I'm just kind of assisting the League of Women Voters and Jefferson County PTA, who are going to be the main people putting this out. And I'm helping with a survey. So a survey I just posted on Facebook, but also I'll be sending out in the next couple of newsletters about what are important in schools for people in Arvada, but it's for all of Jeffco. So I would love for people to spread this survey around to any school groups, or anybody that's of voting age that has school age children or is a teacher or a former educator. We'd like to hear from you on the survey so we can better formulate the questions to ask the school board candidates. So the survey will just help that. And that's the biggest,
Date again.
The date is September 26th and that will be when that gets closer, I will definitely be sending out that via email and posting it on Facebook. So you'll see that date multiple times. But this will be the first time you hear it. And then from there. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Kathy for healthcare.
Hello, I'm Kathy Blake, Healthcare Action Team Leader. And we've been a little bit, our next meeting is coming up. We have our monthly meetings of our action team, and the next one is going to be on August 19th. That's Saturday from 4 to 5:30. It's going to be an in-person potluck. And if you're interested, let me know, email me or call or whatever, Kathy.m.Blake, and it's CATHY, .blake@gmail.com, and I'll send you all the details. Our group has been working on against the privatization of the original Medicare, and we've also been pushing for universal single payer healthcare in Colorado, and that's kind of what we're doing right now. I'm involved in a couple of coalition groups and have kind of not been as active in the summertime, but that's changing, and so we'd love to have you guys participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Bruce, anti-war.
Okay, I'm not taking a lot of time because we're putting on a program today, but I would like to thank Jim Kreider for helping with this program and help me figure out how to do the discussion and those types of things. And I'd also like to thank Taylor Jarnigan, because without him, we might not be able to see or hear, and especially on the Zoom. So, and we have color because he donated new for us, old for him TV. So I just want to make sure that people appreciate all the things that have been done. Yeah, we also are looking for people to join with anti-war, to discuss what's going on and to try to lobby our representatives to get better foreign policy and that sort of thing. So if you do want to join, you either get on our website and sign up and click anti-war, or you can take one of these cards and give me an email, and I will get back to you.
Thanks, Bruce. Taylor, the environment.
So I'm the environment team lead, and what we try and do is think globally and act locally. So our activity for this month is going to be another cleanup at Ralston Central Park. This is located at 58th and Garrison. This will start on Saturday, August 19th at 10 o'clock in the morning. Assuming that the stream flow is down far enough, we'll actually try and get into the streams. We'll get some waders there. If we have lots of rain and it's too dangerous to be in the stream, then we'll just do the best we can. It's also going to be the Arvada Days Festival, which is located at the Clear Creek Park, which is at Tennyson and 58th. So you actually have to go to, the way I get there is you go to Ralston until you run into Sheridan, you take a quick left, a quick right, go through an industrial area, and there you're at the park. So this runs from 11 o'clock until 3 o'clock. Last year they had a train, they had a bouncy house. It's great for kids. So what I would suggest is bring your kids to Ralston Central Park. We'll help clean up the park, and then head over to Arvada Days and help out the city of Arvada.
Thank you, Taylor. Affordable housing, Mindy.
Due to a lot of hard work by folks in this room and others, we've gotten the city of Arvada to hire more people for affordable housing, form a citizen housing advisory committee, and they just recently applied to the state to be in Proposition 123. That was on the ballot last year to set aside some of the Tabor, what would be Tabor refunds, but now to go for affordable housing, home ownership for lower income households, homelessness services. So Arvada and Golden are actually the first two Jefferson County cities that applied for it, which is great. I mean, that helps a lot. And it's not just the city that would apply, but it could be nonprofits. It could be all kinds of people helping in those areas that can apply for the funding. And their housing advisory committee meeting is on August 16th. It will be available for watching on Zoom that evening, Wednesday, August 16th. I have the Zoom link. I don't have an agenda yet. As soon as we see a little more, I'll put out an email to folks who are on our affordable housing team in MailChimp. So if you want to get on that, just sign up for affordable housing and hopefully we'll be there. Thanks.
Thank you. Political action, Joyce.
I've been busy with the city council race. So like Taylor said, we have great candidates in all four races, which is great. And we were very, very worried about District 2. And now we have the most candidates running in District 2 of all the other districts, which is not necessarily a bad problem. So I'm really excited about that. The questionnaires have gone out to all the candidates. So far, we've only gotten 3 back, but we do have 2 fairly new candidates who have a little bit more time to get those in. And then I have to say, I've been a little derelict in getting the information to Allison, but I do have that on my schedule to get that done for sure by Monday. We've had some visitors and things like that, so sorry about that, but you will be able to read that on our website under the political action heading about what their answers to some pretty deep questions, I think, are. So they're quite illuminating, and do keep abreast of the articles in the Arvada Press, because they've been very illuminating as well. The Arvada Press is usually really good about covering, the city council races, and it's always interesting to see what they have to say, because there's very clear differences.
Joyce,
Yes.
what is the deadline date for candidates to sign up?
It's the end of August. I don't know exactly what date, but
My questionnaire said the 28th.
28th.
That's when we have to have our signatures in to put us on the ballot.
Yeah.
It's August 20th.
So yeah, August 28th, we'll know for sure. And the forum is coming up. Everybody's been invited to that as well. It's our October meeting, and it will be here 4:00. Be there.
Thank you. And I am Julie Callahan. I'm the social connections person. This is a relatively new position. It was created basically because I think the best way to reach people is social connections. I've been able to talk to, especially with walking, canvassing, I've talked to Trump supporters, and we have so much in common. And so I think that's the only way we can reach people, is connecting with people. Next Wednesday, this Wednesday coming up, we have a hike. It was at 9 o'clock. We've moved it to 8 because it's so hot. It will be Wednesday morning, 8 o'clock at the Colorado Tap House. From there, we just go on the trail. Ralston Creek Trail. We go out 2 miles and come back, and then we just have some water or tea or coffee or whatever. On September 9th, which is the same day as our next meeting, we're gonna have I'm gonna have a meet and greet at my house for Lauren Simpson, who is running for mayor. It's from 1 to 3, and I live just a few blocks from here. So if you want to stay later and come directly here, you want to go home and refresh or whatever. But I think it's important that we show up for her, because I think it's a very important race. I think all of the city council is very important. But I particularly want to see her win, her opponent.
What time is it?
It's from 1 to 3 on September 9th, which is a Saturday.
And then you can just come on over to this.
Yeah, because it's just, our meeting then is at 4 with the student activists, and I will be inviting the student activists to come to that too. I don't know if they'll come or not, but I'm gonna invite them. Yes, Sharon.
Will you be putting that somewhere so we can have?
I brought 25 copies and I'm handing them out. If we run out, I will get you one.
Thank you. Nope. Maybe got it.
We should post that on our website
Yeah,
and
that
our
would be
Facebook page.
Yeah, but this just came together about 20 minutes before I got here. Last minute stuff. But that's what I would like to do. Like I say, it's right before an APA meeting. So if any of the APA members want to come, if we can get other candidates who want to come, I think that would be good. The student activists I'm going to invite so they can meet the candidates, because they're right at that age where they're getting ready to vote. So the other thing that I would like to do is I would like to start having a book club. But I'm not going to have a book club if I'm sitting by myself reading. So my phone number, you can either go through Facebook, or you can text me, or you can call me. But if I get at least 2 people, we will have a book, and we'll come up with like 3 or 4 books, and we will vote on it. And we will, every other week, we will meet for a book club. Okay. And if anybody has any great ideas for social activities and you would like to help host them, please reach out to me. Yeah.
What about alternating between book club and podcast club?
That would be okay.
I found that I have trouble getting through books, but I listen to a ton of podcasts while I'm like doing other things like multitasking.
Well, I would be good with that.
Like a
So
book 1 month, a podcast 1 month.
That's-
There's a lot of really good podcasts.
perfect. If you join, we'll do that.
I'll do it.
Yay. So then the other question is, do we want to do the same time every other week, or we want to alternate times if it's morning or afternoon or evening? So for people who reach out to me, we will figure that out and we'll come up with a time. Yes, Pat.
Do people really read a book in 2 weeks?
We can read
I
chapters.
don't.
We don't have to read the whole book, right? We can do like 3 chapters in 2 weeks,
Oh.
right? And 3 chapters in 2
Okay.
weeks, and then we can discuss it and pick 7 books.
Right.
But I'm hoping that we'll get quite a few people, because I love to read and I love to listen to podcasts, and I pester my friends, hey, you need to listen to this so we can talk about it. And they're tired of that. So now I'm gonna pester you guys. Thank you. That is, yes.
Are you gonna mention about postcards?
Oh, yes. We do have postcards for anybody who is interested, filling out postcards for candidates. I believe we have them for Sharon
And Lauren, right?
and
now.
Lauren. The-
Shauna's are coming.
Mine are coming.
Okay, so if we have them here today, if anybody.
No,
wa-
no, no.
No.
I don't have them here today, but I have the name of the person who
Okay.
I got mine from today. And
Okay.
I said I would announce it here.
Sure. If anybody wants some postcards, come let me know and I'll tell Pat, or let Pat know. That's Pat right there. And we will make a plan to get you postcards. Okay?
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
How do we get interest in the book club?
I can give you my phone number right now.
Oh, is it the one on the handout?
Yes, yes, it is on the handout. Did you get a handout? That's me. I'm social.
Okay.
So if you just want to call me or text me and let me know who you are, and also what times you can't do or times that are best for you, because I really want to try and make a time that most of us can meet every other week. Okay, thank you. It is now time for our program, so I'm going to turn this over to Bruce. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, everybody. I was told to remind people again that it's recording, but I think you're all aware of that. We have, as you all know, decided to take on an emotional, difficult, and potentially divisive subject, the Ukraine war. Why have we done this? And the reason is because it is having a major impact on our world. Thousands of people have died, Ukrainians and Russians. Millions of people have fled their homes. Much of Ukraine has been destroyed, and the Earth's environment is damaged. Military spending is increasing, and militaristic attitudes on the rise. And there's also more to the story than the mainstream media is telling us. We will use Medea Benjamin's video about her book, War in Ukraine, Making Sense of a Senseless Conflict, to learn more about this conflict and have a discussion about the war and our foreign policy. Medea Benjamin is co-founder of Code Pink. Code Pink was formed in 2002 in the lead up to the Iraq War. And she is one of the Code Pink is one of the most active anti-war groups in the country. We have worked with Code Pink in the past. I send out some of their calls to action. And Carly Town, who was an activist with Code Pink, talked to our meeting in 2021 about reducing funding for the Pentagon. So we share a bias with the authors of the video. Medea Benjamin has been an activist for justice for 40 years. In addition to anti-war, she was a key player in a campaign that won $20 million from U.S. clothing retailers for using sweatshop labor. She's the author of 10 books, including a book on drone warfare, a book on Saudi Arabia, and the current book we're looking at, Ukraine, war in Ukraine, making sense of a senseless conflict. I also wanted to say in war, information is difficult to get. It's heavily propagandized, and it's hard to know what the truth is. You can be on the internet looking at stuff, reading stuff, and I always try to check sources because sometimes it is Russian propaganda, sometimes it's our own Pentagon propaganda. So you really have to kind of sort through things. But I think this video is basically accurate and has information in it we need to see. And it's not generally in the mainstream media. And also it's presented in a way that's not dogmatic, allows for some disagreement and discussion. There's parts of it that have been overshadowed by events because it was made last summer. There's been diplomatic efforts and the impact on the economy was a little different than predicted. The video and book give a background that's very critical of NATO and the United States. But nothing in the film or otherwise presented should be construed in any way to justify the Russian invasion. It is an invasion of a sovereign country and therefore a war crime. But we're going to give some background and some information on our war policy. I'm going to repeat what Julie said about being respectful, even if you strongly disagree with what's being said. We want everyone to have an opportunity to express themselves, so we ask that we avoid long speeches and not dominate the conversation. Also, when we watch the video, the people on Zoom can hear us talking. So we should probably avoid a lot of that while we're playing the video so that they can hear and get into the video. Okay, so before we watch the video, here's Jim for the left house.
We're going to make this pretty short, but Taylor is available to do some typing, and we're going to get your questions about the Ukraine war on the screen, just for us to think about, just kind of create a mindset before we watch this film and see how many of these questions she answers and how many she doesn't answer. She's not trying to be comprehensive, so I'm sure she won't cover everything that we talk about. But what are you thinking? And what have you been thinking for the last year or two about the Ukraine war? What makes you curious? What do you wonder about? What are you not getting enough information about?
Well, I'm wondering about like the Russian draft and how it's creating civil unrest in Russia and how the people of Russia actually feel about it.
Rose's question is about the Russian draft and how the people of Russia feel about it. What's the effect of the Russian draft in Russia? Thank you. Other questions? What are you thinking about?
I'd like to know more about the Wagner contingent that almost marched on Moscow and where that came from and what's going on with it, like right now. I think there's no way Medea can answer that, but it's a question I have.
What is the Wagner group doing now since their attempted coup?
Yeah,
And why they're all moving to Africa.
well, I mean, they're making money that way.
I know the Wagner group's all moving to Africa.
And why is the Wagner group moving to Africa is the question. And what are they up to?
Yeah.
Other questions? Yes.
I'm not
Gage.
clear on how much we're putting in, weapons and support and et cetera, as opposed to, European nations.
Great question.
Yes.
What percentage of the Western contributions to the Ukraine defense is coming from the United States? Grant.
What do pacifists do or say
about this particular war.
What do pacifists say about this war? That should be answered pretty well. I don't know if Medea Benjamin defines herself as a pacifist, but she sure seems close. So,
I actually have one of them.
Yes.
Stick up there, even though I may not. What is being done to end the war?
what is being done to end the war by all parties involved and
Anybody?
anybody? Great. Yes, Kathy.
How does the Ukraine war affect other parts of the globe, like, and things like healthcare, the environment? Sort of a global view of what are the impacts?
Kathy's question is, what are the global impacts of the war in Ukraine? And I think Medea Benjamin does make some reference to that, unless I'm confusing her with something else. One of my big questions that she doesn't answer particularly is, what were Putin's motivations for doing for this war? What does he want to create a new Soviet Union? Is he trying to bring back the good old days? Which seems to me that says maybe we should be trying to stop him in some way or another. Or does he have genuine grievances that Americans don't understand, that maybe we should work harder for a peaceful negotiation? Yes.
How much is the war increasing the price of oil? And how is that making us either more or less dependent on oil?
Darlan's question is about the price of oil. How much is the war affecting the price of oil and maybe making us more dependent on countries like Russia?
Grain to that.
And grain.
That's just what I was gonna say, the whole grain issue,
You can't eat oil, but you can eat grain
if you have it,
if you have it,
yeah.
and it's not too expensive. Paige,
Well, Pat.
Pat first.
What is a good, reliable source of information on an ongoing basis?
What is a good, reliable source of information on the Ukrainian war? Thank you, Gage.
Rationalization of, helping Ukraine, and, what's going on with, Niger and, Sudan. And there are so many refugees coming from the global south, because of wars there. And how is our contribution being split between Ukraine and the global south?
So let me restate, you can correct me if I misunderstood. What's our rationale or the West's rationale for protecting Ukraine, and why aren't we protecting all these other places that are also having conflict like Niger? Thank you.
To add to the price of oil and grain, another fossil fuel is methane gas, otherwise known as LNG.
Thank you. Yes.
I have a concern about our country, more so than Russia. And there seems to be a difference of opinion from the military industrial congressional complex as compared to the people. What is that difference and how great is it?
What is the difference between how Americans perceive this war and how the military industrial congressional complex perceives this war? And what can we do about that difference? Thank you.
That's not your question. I was wondering how much arms dealers, people make weapons, are making off the Ukraine war right now. How much they're profiting and how much influence they have on politics.
Rose's question is about arms dealers and how much money they are making off of this. And Medea Benjamin actually gives us a statistic, and Bruce may be able to tell us later if he's followed up on how accurate, but she has a statistic about what percentage of the weapons we send there aren't ending up where we want them and instead are going to what we would call terrorist groups and other organizations. So it doesn't do us a whole lot to help if 60 or 70% of what we're sending isn't
Yeah,
more
a lot
exposed
of
to.
those are actually, not all that's not getting in the battlefield is going to terrorists. A huge part of it is blown up before they can be used by Ukrainian forces.
Ukrainian forces, blown up by
Russia
Russians before
they can
it gets
actually
to Ukrainians.
be into the battlefield.
Got it. Let's stop there. It seems like we got no hands in the air and we have a great list. let's hear the video and then we'll have some kind of open conversation. Bruce and I can help along if you need us, but otherwise we'll see how many questions that we asked were answered and what other new questions were raised by what Medea Benjamin has to say.
All right, so the way we're gonna work this is I'm gonna mute everybody. That mutes the folks on the Zoom in particular, also the computer. It doesn't actually block people talking to the owl. So if you have questions, please hold them to the end of the presentation. Once we start sharing the screen, I can't see what's going on the Zoom anymore. So if you guys on Zoom have a problem, you have my telephone number, send me a text. I just entered my cell phone. So I'm going to mute everybody. Then we're going to share the screen. And as I have said, as my mantra going forward here, what could go wrong?
Yeah,
I noticed.
Okay, hang on just a minute. I want to get the questions up. Let's see if we answered any of those questions, and then you can be the first one.
And you're gonna have to speak up because we can't hear you back here.
Oh, okay.
Not with our little preferred senses.
Yeah, well, it's better to not roast, I guess. So if you could pull up the okay. So yeah, first questions, did it answer any of these questions? Not number one, number two. What are we supplying? Didn't answer that. What are pacifists saying about the war? I think that's pretty clear that we oppose militarism in all its forms. We oppose the Iraq war, we oppose Russia's invasion of Ukraine, we oppose all of it. Any other comments on this particular question? Yes.
What do you do if you oppose it?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Let's save that one for the end.
Let's say that's
Take another-
and let's say back to Mike. I said
A comment and a question.
The people on Zoom can't hear you unless you're up by the owl.
okay, so come on up here to make comments.
Yeah.
A little slower, but
So the references to Nazism in the movie, they had no citations on where they got that information from. So this Putin propaganda is the Nazism of Ukraine. So if you're going to put that, if you're going to put this in a movie like this, it should be referenced, like Reuters or The Guardian or somebody else. It's not referenced in this movie. That's my only. And I was wondering, that's very poor journalism.
yeah, right, and not reference. I can, Mike, I can look into it, see where the references are. It's toned down a lot from Russian propaganda that says that Ukraine is run by Nazis and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I will check that out.
I have a question,
Real
quick question.
Yeah,
Do you have the book?
I have the book.
Does the book give references?
It may.
Okay,
It may.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Who else?
I have a note here from Kathy Jackson.
Okay.
We also opposed entering World War II when the Germans entered Poland.
You can hear you, Taylor.
Okay.
I can't read and speak up. All right, this.
Okay. Yeah.
We also opposed entering World War II when Germany invaded Poland. Very sad for our history.
Okay. That's a
And I think that's,
okay.
that goes back to my point earlier,
John,
which is,
what?
that goes back to my point earlier, which is we need to understand what the motivations were. If we take,
Right.
we take what Hitler did in World War II and say, boy, we don't want to ever let that happen again. So we misunderstood. We thought Ho Chi Minh was the new Hitler. We thought Saddam Hussein was the new Hitler. Now we think Putin is the new Hitler. And we have to figure out as progressives, how much do we respond to each of these invasions at the risk of creating World War III? And how much do we let aggressors get away with it, which we fear based on Hitler's behavior in Czechoslovakia and the Munich conference, where we just said, okay, you're okay, and then he went on to take over half the world.
Yeah.
I don't have a question. I just have a direct response to your question.
Oh, okay.
Which is the documentation is the United States' own military saying we're not shipping weapons to Ukraine because of the far-right neo-Nazis in it. That was very well documented. And that's at the public legislation. So at one point, the United States even admitted the post-coup government of Ukraine, some of its forces have too many Nazis. We're not going to send them weapons. But then after Russia invades Ukraine, then they lifted off those those limits. So that's the United States' own analysis of what the military of Ukraine was too dangerous to be sending weapons.
Right.
Thank you.
And Harriet Hall says, good point.
Which is a good
point. Okay, Rose, what do you think?
And I also want to say on Nazism in Europe, it is actually going on a rise, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Nazism, and fascism is rising in Europe at the current moment, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're getting weapons, just because there's a lot more of them now.
I would like to respond to the comment about, what is Putin's motivation? And that is a big question. We know that Russia was being surrounded by massive weapons, and any country where there's massive weapons being built up on their border is going to be that takes some kind of action about that, not only on their border, but regime change wars in Libya and Iraq and Afghanistan and the rest of it, particularly Libya, because Libya was a close ally of Russia. So I don't know what Putin's motivations are, but certainly anyone from Russia that was involved in security, wait a minute, what's happening? But anyway.
Well, we also know that there is a rise of a right wing in Russia.
Right.
That's kind of a combination of church and state. So it's almost like the fundamentalist Christian right in the United States.
Right.
And they're arguing for a reestablishment of the old Russian Empire,
right.
A greater Russia. And we know that those people are very influential in Putin's government. The other thing we know is that Putin, this isn't the first time he's done it. He invaded Georgia.
Right.
He took Crimea. He took Donbass and whatever
Luhansk.
So he's made a series of small bites, and none of those have satisfied his appetite.
Well, also when after the events of 2014, we started pouring massive weapons into Ukraine. That did not stop Putin. And also, we are not getting the full story about any of these events. Georgia is characterized by our media as a simple invasion. It's really not a simple invasion. They were fired, Russian troops were fired on. Okay, and like Ukraine is often, the Donbass is often characterized as a simple invasion. But the people of Donbass, Crimea, and Luhansk, they were not happy about the overthrow of the democratic elected government. So it wasn't like Russia just rolled in. There was a lot of people in those areas that were not happy about that. So, yeah.
Can we talk about the question, what's the difference between the complex and the people?
Yeah.
People believe, I think that's
Yeah, that's a good
important thing for us to talk
question.
about.
Does anybody have any information on that? I have seen some polls, but I'm not an authority on that.
What do the polls say?
Yes, there has been a recent poll that was in May that essentially states that the general population is either against or is tending towards being against using our infrastructure money to go to war in Ukraine.
Right.
And that figure was at around 55%. And what we're seeing from the media, in addition to the industrial congressional complex, is both Republicans and Democrats, both. This is not just the right side or the left side or whatever. This is the congressional industrial complex voting essentially unanimously for continuing the war, perhaps forever, until Ukraine gets all of their territory back. Now, that's what I hear, but help me with that. I just wonder if there's another opinion here.
Yeah.
I was very distressed to learn about the lead up and our involvement, you know, how all the different coups we know that after the fact that all these coups took place. And I'm learning more about what happened in Ukraine in the lead up to 2014. I didn't know any of that stuff. So it's not coming out to the American people. And I'm concerned about, you know, keeping a lid on our government and having more watchdogs and saying what's going on.
Right.
Anyway, so I don't, whether that will affect the polls and but, you know, we should all be talking more to our legislator about tracking the weapons and that sort of thing.
I just have a real
Okay.
quick comment.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Forgot your name.
Caroline?
Yeah.
Yeah, should I come up?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to come up? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to address the question about how much the war increased the price of oil, LNG, and grain. They didn't say exact numbers, but they did imply that a lot of focus was diverted from a Green New Deal and climate action because of the war. And I'd like to support that with more than just government spending. There was the Inflation Reduction Act, but there was also a divestment away from oil and gas that was happening before the Ukraine war happened. And after the Ukraine war happened, oil and gas stocks went through the roof because oil and gas prices were so high, they were making record profits. And because of that, there's huge amounts of investor money pouring into oil and gas companies rather than into green energy companies and climate infrastructure. So this has been a terrible side effect of the Ukraine war, that not only has government attention been diverted, but investor money has gone into putting in infrastructure that will lock us into oil and gas for another 30 or 40 years. So I guess my question then is, given that this is happening, what can be done to claw back some of the ill-gotten profits that have been given to the oil and gas industry from nothing that was due to their own efforts, but because of the war and the skyrocketing oil and gas prices?
Another example of that, that's going to have a direct impact on the city of Arvada, is the development of oil resources in the state of Utah, which they are now proposing to send by rail shipment that rail line not only runs right along the Colorado River through the Rocky Mountains, but you will have 2-mile-long oil trains moving through the city of Arvada. What's more, they're also proposing to have one person operate each one of those 2-mile-long oil trains.
Wow.
Wow.
So,
Can I come up and speak
yes,
for a second?
yes.
Okay.
And then I have the slide I want to show. I don't know.
I just wanted to say that Medea Benjamin's video, I don't think she treats both sides very fairly because she does not address the Russian conscription of young people that makes the war incredibly unpopular to Putin and his government. She doesn't really address the puppet governments that Russia is setting up. Like, I have friends who are in the Air Force who are in Belarus, and Belarus is under like a puppet government control that's against Russia. The Crimea situation, the way that it's presented in this video is also more complicated than here. And they don't mention how Russia seized Crimea, was fighting Georgia, and also Russia is not very strong. Like, the Wagner group has a lot of influence of what is actually going on. And Putin is trying to keep his oligarchs under control, but he doesn't have as much control. But that is kind of what the West is betting on. And so they do have some things right, I think, in this, but they really aren't talking enough about how Russia, this war is unpopular in Russia at home, with a lot of activists who are trying to fight for freedom and freedom of speech and who are against this war from home in Russia. So that's one thing I wanted to bring up about more of a balanced presentation of this video, is that there's a lot of things that they didn't talk about Russia at all, which is interesting to me. And then the other thing about the price. So I actually work for the Rainforest Action Network. And one of the things that we do is we go against the financiers who finance the fossil fuel industry, because the United States and the International Energy Agency has said, we don't need any new fossil fuel supply whatsoever. We can make a transition now with all the supply we have until the Ukraine crisis came up. And then with the Ukraine crisis, what has happened is that the United States is one of the top shippers of LNG and methane gas now, even rivaling Qatar, however you want to say that. I know there's different ways that people pronounce that, right? And so because we have so much gas in the Permian Basin, in the US Gulf right now, there are 4 natural gas export facilities. There are proposals to build 25 more to be able to take off of the opportunism that the fossil fuel companies have, because they're saying to keep Europe stable, they need US natural gas or methane gas and not Russian gas. And so it's very interesting how the United States fossil fuel companies are able to benefit from this conflict. And how long have they had their hands in lobbying, or what are they doing? I don't have any evidence of that. But Rainforest Action Network is doing a lot to prevent that gas build out. But this is one of the geopolitical situations we're addressing.
Thank you. That was very, very informative. I do want to show a quick slide.
Yeah, let's look at this slide and then let's turn to a conclusion, which was our focus today. The question we put on Facebook is, what should Progressive do about this? So we're going to interpret this new evidence that Bruce has got and then try to pull it together.
Yeah, it's also, most of this is also from Code Pink. I did fact check some of the stuff in here. Air pollution, chemical waste dumps have been bombed, smoke is in particulates, acid rain, it's unhealthy to breathe, farmland destruction. They have landmines throughout farmland, and machinery is just being destroyed. Water contamination is, toxic chemicals are leaking into the streams and killing fish. We've talked about dirty energy a bit. One of the things that really struck me when I did this is that the dolphins dying in the marine life, 50,000 dolphins have died in this war, mostly from sonar from all the submarines and the explosions and that sort of thing. Pipeline sabotage, whoever blew up the Nord Stream, and you can argue about who did that, but it was the biggest leak of methane in history. So it's big, and it's gonna have a big impact. And if Ukraine tries to take back militarily their territories, there's just gonna be a lot more of that. We talked about money for war, not climate, threat of radiation leaks. They have 4 nuclear power plants, and that was where Chernobyl was. There's a lot of potential. If you hit one of those, that there's going to be a serious problem, and of course the threat of nuclear catastrophe.
So given all that, and given the things that you talked about, and given our desire to do something about, to deter not only Russia, but other countries that might be tempted to do what Russia did, what do we do as progressives? What are your proposals about what little us in Arvada can do to make a dent in this problem?
I think one thing is, that.
Joyce.
You gotta come up. I don't
Talk to the owl.
talk to the owl. I don't have a lot of trust in Saudi Arabia, to be quite honest, but there are peace talks going on. And I think one of the things that we can do, and every one of us could do that, is call our senators and say, push this. Let's get this over with, for all of those reasons. I mean, climate change alone is the reason that they need to stop.
Thank you. Let's go Rose and then Mike.
What I found interesting about that video was that the US and Britain were taking a lot of steps to try to stop degradation. So I think we should probably try to get them more negligation and have the US stop trying to, block it.
So we put that with Joyce's, and it's talk to your senators about encouraging negotiation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, this war is not gonna be over until Putin says it's over, so I think the propaganda war is where progressives need to be. If you can get on the Facebook and talk to somebody in Russia, and get them on your, get them to shut down Putin. And I think in Colorado, we need to shut down the Russian oligarchs that own property in like Vail and Aspen. Just, how do they say, seize their property?
Is that something that the Colorado governor has power
I don't
to
know.
do something like
We
that?
could start asking.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So I think we need to start voting in people into government that are going to listen to us. So we're not going to get to the Boberts of the world, right? So what you need to do as Coloradans is get to your Colorado District 3 friends and say, we got to vote in a different way, because this is not working for Colorado. Bobert's not working for Colorado. She's working for the Republican Party and Trump in particular. So starting with your vote, you need to get out and talk to people in Colorado District 3. 10,000 people stayed home during that vote. She only won by 526. You've seen that here in Arvada, where in the District 3 race, the opponent to Mr. Marriott, she only lost by 500 and some odd votes. You have to get out and talk to your fellow Coloradans, your fellow Arvadans, and vote people in who listen to us.
You're implying that our representatives in Arvada districts, our national representatives, are on the right side of this issue, but
What I'm implying is, if you want somebody to listen to you on the national level, we need to vote in people who think like us at the national level. You're not going to get that from this vote, unfortunately.
Thank you.
I have a real quick response to that. Democrats.
Volume,
Oh,
Bruce.
sorry. A lot of the wars, a lot of the massive military, a lot of the expansion of NATO is by Democrats. But you can't fix this problem by supporting Democrats. You have to find the ones that have the courage to vote against some of this militarism. And I don't see any one of Colorado, Democrat or Republican.
I think what Democrats is probably trying their best to get money out of elections. Because the reason why so many Democrats are like that is because that's how they're being funded. And I feel like money in politics is always just going to turn out bad.
Rose's point is we need to get money out of politics, otherwise we're gonna have Democrats who vote for war. Sean?
Locally, I'm really interested in the train thing that Taylor brought up about how we're gonna have, like, do we want to end up like East Palestine? With the trains coming through with these dangerous materials with really low safety. I feel like that's something this town could do to really interrupt the opportunism that the fossil fuel industry is doing around this.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't know how to stop trains. I'm just saying that's interesting, but that's a good idea to organize around, maybe.
Well,
It's very local.
That's something
We as
that,
Arvadans can start saying, strengthen those regulations.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened in East Palestine. Now, let's think back in Arvada's history. We used to have triggers flowing through Arvada. We just didn't know it. Nuclear triggers from Rocky Flats.
Oh, yeah, right.
Going down to the Pantex plant in Amarillo, Texas. So that wasn't that long ago. So we've had that, but the regulations were a lot more stringent back then. So we loosened them up in America. And so now we need to maybe strengthen them again. Again, voting people who are like-minded, Democrat, Republican, Independent, I don't care, purple, green, and black and white, but if you vote like-minded people into positions of authority and decision-making, that's how we make our change.
Can we get a commitment from Sharon and Shauna that they will work together to find out what's going on with the train?
Yeah, I mean, I was on the Pete Buttigieg campaign, so.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I don't have them on, speed dial, but I have friends in there, and I was already gonna talk to them about, a couple of other train issues, the train horn issue. It won't stop blaring, and then we're trying to expand a street over here, but we can't because the Union Pacific won't approve the plans. So I'm gonna see if I can get some pressure from the Department of Transportation to Union Pacific. But Union Pacific is in Omaha, very easy to go to a sit-in. They have a great zoo, like, very doable.
That's a great place to wrap it up. It's 4:30. If you'd like to have conversations.
one more statement here with respect to the environment. So the state of Colorado actually has a lot of say over the train traffic through the state of Colorado. So this is something that we can directly talk to our local representatives. For example, the train track runs through an area called the Moffett Tunnel.
Yes.
And that happens because of an agreement between the state and the railroad. So my suggestion would be is if you're going to be running 2-mile long oil trains through the Moffett Tunnel, we're going to take away your ability to run trains through the Moffett Tunnel. And that is a direct economic impact. There's no reason why, if the state of Utah wants to process oil tar sands into a marketable oil product, they can't build their own refinery there. There's no need to send 2-mile long trains to the Suncor refinery in Denver.
Yeah.
That, which is a refinery that probably should be shut down anyway.
Yes.
Bruce is gonna wrap us up and then we can
Okay.
have one-on-one conversations after that.
Yeah, we can take talking for a little while, but so I'd like to thank everyone for coming and thank you for expressing your views. There's a lot of views, and I think we can create a dialogue because I think we all want peace in Ukraine. We just disagree on how to get there, disagree about Putin and various things. The book is in the library if you want to check it out and read it. You can also go to codepink.org to order if you want to buy the book. And also there's another video that my slide was based on that has a lot more information. That's also on codepink.org. There's also a movement, Peace in Ukraine. And if you go to peaceinukraine.org, you can join that movement, and they are doing what is suggested by some in here, that we lobby our congresspeople and tell them to emphasize diplomacy and at least pursue that avenue strongly, as strong as they can. Diplomacy is tough. You know, I've followed a lot of wars, and you get an atrocity and then diplomacy goes away and then they try again and so on. It's a tough road, but that's the only way to really end the war. Anyway, so you can go to peaceinukraine.org or codepink.org. There's also a website that lists 28 organizations that give humanitarian aid to Ukrainians, and I can send that out at some point. It's on globalcitizen.org.
Thank you.
Our next meeting, September 9th, 4 o'clock, same day at my house, 1 to 3, a meet and greet. Thank you, everybody.